And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I have some interesting is one way to describe them. They're both friends of mine, so I was gonna say philosophically interesting, scientifically interesting guest here this evening, Darren and Keeden. Let's just start off with some. Darren, you've been on my channel before, but let's start off with some introductions. Maybe tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then the opening question I have is favorite anime. So, Darren, you want to go first?
Of course. Hey Keeden, hey Mike, and hey everyone. So yeah, I'm Darren Jones. I'm a teacher primarily. I'm a philosophy professor, high school literature teacher. Humanities, so literature, history, social studies. Um, my favorite anime. You'll find a lot in the I think Watanabe, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai
Ooh,
Champloo, Ichigo and
Yeah.
Hachiman. Recently I've been watching a lot of Black Clover,
ooh.
One Piece, Dragon Ball Z up to the Cell Saga. I am a fan of
Okay.
Naruto and lots of Shippuden, JoJo, and of course Miyazaki films. So there's
Uh,
I could go on, but that's kind of a sampler, just your basic shonen dude. So yeah, that's it.
Nice.
a true man of culture. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. I'm Keeden. I am also an instructor. I'm more in the science field, but I like Darren, I love jumping over and kind of bridging the gap between science and ethics and philosophy. I love talking stuff like that. If I had to pick a favorite anime, I really love Gundam. Gundam is one of my favorites. I'm always been a huge history buff, and the way that Gundam's always been a direct reflection of the society, like about 20 to 30 years post. It's just always been very interesting how it's always followed it. The first one I ever saw was Gundam Wing, and I think that was the one that just kind of stuck with me. But I've watched um, all of them. But right there, I also really love Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal
Mhm.
Alchemist. Uh, I read like the first manga I think I read all the way through was Bleach, and then
Oof.
so yeah, I've been really excited that they brought it. They just recently brought it back, but also I love mecha like a lot. Anything with mechs in it, so things like Gun Cross Sword, Code Geass. I'm into anything with big robots.
Yeah, man. What I tell the students sometimes, and it makes me sound like a complete old head, but I guess we are old heads. Yeah, so I started watching anime back in the uh, Adult Swim days of Cartoon Network when anime would only air from like 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. and Gundam was like one of the first shows I like
Oh
really
yeah.
really got into. And they'd have those awesome like teaser commercials, those old school
Oh yeah, they were
Adult Swim
great.
teasers. Yeah,
It's like AMVs.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But yeah, y'all know who I am, so I don't need to introduce myself. But favorite anime, I mean, I that's what I grew up late '90s. Dragon Ball Z, Gundam. Um, I did like Cowboy Bebop, but I didn't come to that till a little bit later. I love fighting anime. So my
Oh, nice.
criteria is what I tell people is as long as there's like some kind of special kind of powers and power ups happening, as long as people are getting punched in the face, I'm in. So yeah, I
You gotta
like
watch.
martial arts. Good.
You gotta watch Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba whenever you get a chance.
Yes, I
You
love it.
gotta,
Love it.
yeah.
On that one.
I'm not 100% caught up, but I have. Yeah, yeah, that's my jam. So our the premise for tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on Naruto specifically, and since we're all teachers, what I'm going to have us do is to grade Naruto based off of certain ideas and concepts and criteria. So our grading criteria for all of you pedagogy nerds out there, we're going to use the A through F range, and we're going to talk about things like Naruto, the main character. A through F, plot, representation, that should be a little spicy, and philosophical themes. So let's start off with Naruto as a main character. Keeden, start us off. How would you grade him? What would you say about him? Let's start there.
I give it's interesting because with Naruto, I think I give him a solid B. I think I give him a B as far as the character goes, just because his focus it's almost like it never wavers at times, like because he's so, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit, he's all about sacrifice and hope and just never giving up. But that's something that he just kind of sticks with, to the point that he's kind of like the focal point and very stoic while everything else is moving around him, but he's still the central character and doing everything. And I you see him waver in the sense, like whenever he loses someone, but you never see him like completely code switch, right? Like you never really see him go deep, deep, dark and have to be brought back from the edge. And it's one of those things I would have always kind of liked to see, but I can't fault him for it. It's kind of like when you meet somebody that hasn't gone through a lot of pain or trauma, and you can't blame them for it. You just kind of go, good for you, I guess. And that's how it kind of feels, because even though he's gone through all of this trauma, he doesn't have that darkness, which is very interesting. And it's something you don't it's something that almost doesn't seem real.
Good point.
Yeah.
Darren?
No, yeah, Keeden is absolutely right, and that my grade for him is a solid C plus. He is unwavering. The character does go through a lot of trauma, but he still has that sort of positive attitude that you would expect a shonen protagonist to have. But in a way, and I'm the type that always thought Superman was kind of boring in that same way, and the plot doesn't really do service to Naruto, because while the plot wants to suggest that he's this orphan who came from nothing to rise to Hokage, he's actually, his dad was the president, and he has unlimited chakra, and it's not his fault. It's the plot that's doing that.
Yeah.
The plot armor. But that keeps him from being able to really grow in certain ways. I love the character, and he's one of the few characters that I got to watch grow up from, as a character, from infancy to almost our age at this point.
Right.
Spoilers, right? Of course. But yeah, so yeah, I think the plot kind of holds him back. It isn't, and we'll get there when we talk about the plot. But as far as him, he's a happy-go-lucky shonen protagonist, inspirational, just not complex enough. I don't think he is like that. That he is like a rock. Talk no jutsu and positive and inspirational, but just not that complex. He doesn't have that darkness, as you say. Or something's missing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think y'all hit it like spot on what I was going to say. So I'm just going to echo that a little bit. And I think when we talk about plot, I think there could be some really easy ways to fix some of that. But, if I could go back and rewrite history or whatever. But yeah, I would, yeah, I'd have to give Naruto a low C. Probably low, yeah, probably a solid C, solid 70, but yeah, probably at the cusp of the D range. And the reason for that is basically what happens later on in the series to Naruto as an early character is like the epitome of like the classic shonen like underdog that you like love to root for. And that type of Naruto, that's what I liked. The orphan who's down on his luck. Like, to me, this is embodied in the conversation, the fight that he has with Neji, right? Because Neji's supposed to be the like born into royalty, born into greatness, born to like do these great things, comes from the prestigious family lineage. and Naruto's like the social opposite, like the poor orphan kid that's constantly getting in trouble and is like the epitome of like what it means to be an underdog. Like that Naruto, love it, but they completely demolished all of that later on. Like, and that's why I have to go with the C. If it wasn't for what happened in, and I can't ever pronounce, is it Shippuden, right?
Shippuden.
Yeah. If we erase like all the stuff that happens in Shippuden, like plot point wise, where we find out kind of more about who Naruto's father was, which even that I can kind of get behind. But the fact that Naruto, like, and yeah, major spoilers happening, but the fact that Naruto basically becomes like the reincarnation of a god at the end, it's like, come on. Like
Shonen really does do they have a flow chart, don't they? They really do have a flow chart. And what's so funny about all of them is I can't think of a single shonen anime where the main character is in my top 5 favorite characters of the anime. Like there's always other characters that are way more interesting and way cooler than the main character.
Yeah, I came to hate Goku after a while. I realized how he's such a bad father and how he's put the fate of Earth on the line for the good fight. Even when he gave Cell that sensu bean,
that's the one.
I was like, "What are you doing?" His priorities aren't right. He's just accidentally the hero. But oh shoot, now I forgot. but yeah, I'll just throw that in.
Yeah. Oh man, Goku. Yeah, when he gave Cell that senzu bean, like that was peak. Like, what is wrong with you? You have a problem.
Oh, okay. Here's what I was thinking though, and I wonder how much this reflects on Japanese society because this happens in a lot of. It can't help but in order to be important, you got to have the right bloodline. You got to be from the right family. I mean, at the end of the day, they want to say anyone can make it. It's kind of like the American dream thing too. Like anybody can make it. No, only like 3 people are gonna make it.
It's like
everybody else is gonna stay in the
tops
or go down. Right? Yeah, it can't help it. At the end of the day, the main character is the son of someone important because that's how it always is.
Yeah.
And just I kind of I love it when anime can push against that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what annoys me about Naruto as a show. Like, because you for sure have that theme like solidified, especially in the early arcs with the battle between Neji and Hinata and like what that's supposed to represent. And at the same time, you have characters like Naruto and I would argue like a better representation of what Naruto is supposed to be would be Rock Lee, who's like my favorite character of the series. But then you have other characters that are like on the come up and like don't come from that background. And like are like show that it's possible to not like. Do you think it's more of a like it had the potential for some solid cultural commentary, and then it just like completely abandoned it?
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, Rock Lee had my favorite quote in the entire anime, and it's still one of my favorite quotes even now. It's when he's talking, he says there's two types of geniuses in the world. The naturals and the hard workers. And like that stuck with me like crazy because I was like, yo, that's so true. Like because in school there was always like there's always the person that just like, I don't study. I don't need to study, right? There's always that person. And then there's the other person that's like, man, I'm fighting for my life to get a B in this class, right? Like there's all that just stuck out. Like the point I was in life, like right then, it was like, man, that hit home. Like that was deep to young me, right? Like it was, but yeah, it was, and they really stuck with that until they got to this weird point where it's like, oh yeah, he is the strongest on the planet by far. Hope he doesn't get too mad and destroy the earth. But yeah, he's the strongest except for this guy, but he's actually stronger than that guy. But you'll find out in 5 episodes that he's stronger than that guy. Right. He was always 5,000 times stronger. And I'm like, really? This is the guy that he got beat by Zabza like episode 25, and now he's like moving continents. Like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, the progression's kind of nuts towards the end. Sorry, Darren. Go ahead.
No, because that reminds me. the difference between anime fights, and we could probably get into this more with plot too, which I give plot a little bit higher, but because early on it was a chess match, and you see that a lot in JoJo, as opposed to I scream and I get the higher power number or whatever.
Yeah.
But later in the show, they go from throwing knives at each other to like big old monster magic
spirit
battle.
bombs. Yeah.
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 So I don't. But yeah, I wish the fighting would be a little bit more of a chess match. If you watch, like say JoJo or things like that, where it's a match of this versus that, this counters that, as opposed to just and then power up and get stronger.
Yeah.
But I think Naruto ultimately does though, because he has the demon fox in his stomach. So whenever he's in trouble, the plot has a quick, I would get him out of there.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny when you think about it after the fact, because you're like, this is 100% a show about child soldiers. Like it is like they join. But I mean that sells though. Harry Potter, child soldiers. Power Rangers, child soldiers. Hunger Games, child soldiers. Like it's there.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, you're not wrong.
It's everywhere. And like from the time they're like, hey, this is your unit. Yes, you're 10, but now you're gonna learn to fight and you're gonna go on missions. You might die, and you're 10. Like, right? Like, and they just go with it. It's like, yeah, I get it. You had a little bit of hands when you were 10, and now you have a lot more hands now that you're like 20. But this isn't okay.
Not okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask a break-off question. I realized I meant to ask it, but I didn't send it to y'all. And this is a two-part question. So, and Mikey brought up a point. Mikey's a really awesome guy. I'll have him on the stream soon. But so first of all, first part of the question, like, who's your favorite Naruto character? Because as we said, there's a lot of one of the things that Shonen Jumps are known for is the awesome side characters. So who's your favorite character if it's not Naruto? And then who's your favorite villain of the series? Let's start there. Favorite character, favorite villain. Who would you give an A to in terms of character-wise?
Well, it's tempting to say Rock Lee, but if you really think about it, the show hates him, and he doesn't win hardly any of his fights. So really, I would give it to Guy Sensei, the actual real Rock Lee, who was able to kick Madara in the stomach and all that, and even his dad might die, and then of course Shikamaru, those Guy Sensei. That's mine.
Solid choices. Keeden, who you got?
My favorite, I always loved Kakashi, especially once you get his backstory as far as like who his best friend was and how he got the Sharingan and all of that, and how he is. I always like characters that are strong, but also insanely laid back. Like they don't like showing off how strong they are, but when they do have to get into it, it's like, yeah, you picked the wrong dude. Like, right? Like I always really, really liked him. And then as far as villains in the show, I like Pain's motives. Like he actually, like it's a good villain is one of those that where if you were in their shoes, you'd completely understand. Right. And so I always liked Pain. Orochimaru, he had some selfish tendencies, but Pain, like it was something with him. I really liked him.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, no, that's a good point. This is difficult for me. So I would also have to say Kakashi. There's a absolutely fantastic YouTube channel called Sage's Reign that does character breakdowns of Naruto character, and he has a video. This sounds bad. Well, it doesn't sound bad. I'll say I can own up to it. But it like his video on Kakashi like made me weep. Like it was so deep.
You got to link to it.
Yeah, for sure I will. And the reason why I like Kakashi so much, the video just like hit the nail on the head, is because I love tragic stories, and I like for my art to mimic life, so I like for my art to be very depressing. Um, and most shonen is not, right. Most shonen is pretty superficial in terms of like the types of struggles and pain that they have to undergo and go through. But Kakashi, by far, I think, has like the darkest backstory of the show.
Hmm.
And for that reason, and there's this, I think you can make the art. Now, what happens towards the end where Kakashi's like doing like freaking Susano, like perfect Susanos left and right, and he's doing like all this, like that ruins it for me. But like early Kakashi, like that scene early on where he's talking with Sasuke, and Sasuke's like, "I'm gonna kill everybody you love," and Kakashi's like, "They're all dead."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
like,
oh,
do it.
oh
Go
man,
ahead. Go ahead.
that was
Yeah.
that
Here's
hit
here's
so
this
hard.
empty scroll of names. Like, it's, oh my god, that
Oh
was ice
man,
cold. I remember that.
yes,
Obito my favorite villain then. Because he's like the other side of Kakashi, you know, and
yes.
I loved Obito, and he was consistently
Oh,
there. And Madara, of course, kicked a lot of butt, but uh, you know, yeah, I like Obito as far as my villain.
Now
I
go ahead, Keaton. Sorry.
I also enjoyed Gara. Like when he in the
Yes.
first arc, Gara, I really liked the arc when the Sand Village were the villains, because he was just like so erratic. And then when you got his backstory, it made it so much better, because like, oh, okay, he's not just crazy, right? He's just like, there's something to it, and he's out of control. And what made him such an interesting villain for me with Gara was, after the fact, he's such a peaceful, quiet, kind individual. And it's like, man, he was
Hmm.
he was out of pocket that whole first arc of Naruto, and then all of a sudden now it's like, oh, he's
I'll
not
tell you
so
what
bad.
brought me back for Shippuden, because I actually, you know, I didn't watch all of it. I jumped out, and when I came back, it was Gara giving a speech to all the nations united in the last war. That was the episode that brought me back into the show after a long break, because I turned it on, and that just my luck that just happened. He was giving a speech. I was like, man, that boy really made it.
Yeah,
And you know,
Hmm.
he was like Naruto, but if he had went bad, if he didn't have the protagonist happy go
right.
luckiness, you know, like he was like really traumatized, you know, like with having that beast inside him. Yeah, man, y'all are affecting my choices too. I want to say Naruto.
Yeah.
But yeah, good choice, good choice.
No, I love Gar as a character. Like, again, a very complex character. Um, yeah. Early arc wise, Gar is probably my favorite. Now, I will say, in terms of like villain introductions, when Madara fought the nation army, like
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
so hyped for that. The fight itself was like it like blew my
good
mind.
animation too.
Yeah, when he like jumps off that cliff and then just starts like throwing hands with like thousands of them all at once. It was yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, Pain's an awesome villain. I can't. And then I like the dichotomy. The part of the plot that I do like, and then I'll ask y'all about plot is the dichotomy between the introduction of Obito and the reveal about who Obito was at the end. Like that was, I like that aspect. So let's rate plot. Plot. What you got? What would you rate it? What do you like about it? What you don't like about it? And justify your grade of it. Caden, you want to start us off?
The plot isn't like, it's nothing out of this world. I'd give it a C, just because I feel like when they made this, they made the plot thin enough that they could just keep it going forever if they needed to. It's like, look, all of these elements and all of these nations, and they're all at war with each other for some strange reason. And just in case they're not at war, the people that got kicked out of those villages are constantly trying to start a war, right? Like, it's like, okay, this is just, I mean, I get it. I'm an earthling. I know how it works. Like it, so
Sure.
it wasn't anything amazing to me, but it was enjoyable enough. It got a C for me.
Okay.
I give good grades to anything I enjoy though. Like that's the thing. My students will tell you like, man, like I think he just gave me 5 stars for existing. Like what in the world?
What's wrong with it? Why not an A? Yeah. What held it back from a B or an A?
I'll say what held it back from B or an A was I saw everything coming. I think there was nothing in there that really shocked me. And whenever I feel like I could have done something that would have been better, it takes away. I'm like, man, if that were me, I would have done it this way. I think that would have been better, right? But but then again, that's just fan fiction at that point, right? But yeah, it gets a C just because I'm thinking of stories that are much. I'm trying not to compare it, but at the same time, you always end up comparing it to stories that you feel are way deeper as far as the plot goes. And so comparing it with those, I'd give it a C.
Fair.
Yeah.
What you got, Darren? Yeah, go for it.
I'll give it a little higher. Give it a B minus.
Ooh.
I was saying a B, but I think B minus, and only because I'm a sucker for world building. Maybe we got a case of quantity over quality here, but I do like that they got a bunch of nations. And yeah, they're constantly at war, and there's always somebody with a motivation for war. And a lot of their political choices, or even their tactical or military choices, are a bit suspect. And it does come. There is a lot of cliches in there. But I get moved. Maybe some of it is that song, that sadness and sorrow song. Whenever they go
so good,
back,
everybody
has their tragic backstory. They do that really well, and it tugs on my heartstrings. And so many episodes. I think with both of them combined, like about 400 or something like that. I don't know, something like that. So yeah, I give it
a lot.
Yeah,
it is.
So just points just for surviving, and like I said, there are lots of it that I skipped. I skipped a lot of Shippuden. So maybe it's not fully. And I'm not a manga reader. It's anime only for me. And no. So but for that, I'll say B minus.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. So, because Darren, you brought something up. So, in terms of like world building in and of itself, a solid A. Like all of the different nations, Mikey brought up like the tailed beast and Jakuriki. Like I love that idea and like how they utilized it and the fact that each nation has one and the impact that it has on the individual. Yeah, in terms of like the Naruto universe as a whole, like I love it. And part of the reason why Naruto is such a compelling show for me is because of how deep the world building is. Like easy, the different villages, the aesthetics of the different villages, like all that stuff. And then the whole idea about the different chakras and specialties. Yeah, like I that stuff, I can listen to like video essays on that stuff like all day. Now, in terms of like the actual plot, like as a coherent narrative, I guess I'll have to go in between y'all and say like mid B, like 75. I liked it early on. If I could just say like, okay, so part of the problem is the freaking fillers. Like Naruto's like one of the worst about filler episodes. It is so bad.
Yeah, solid 25% you could just skip and never.
I'm watching Naruto Kai, which is a fan edit that cuts out all the filler. It cuts it
solid.
It's like it's done in hour 30-minute chunks. So it's got about 50 episodes, cover it from beginning to the end of Shippuden. Much better edit. Kai.
Nice.
Kai.
I'm gonna check that out. It's doable.
I can get you a copy if you need it. I might be able to put it on Google Drive for you.
Yeah, solid.
Oh, nice. I would actually go back and watch it if that was the case. The filler, I remember I started watching Naruto in high school. And I remember finishing Shippuden when I had graduated college. Like it was a solid decade. And I remember being I would get furious waiting a week and then have them to release a filler episode. Like it would make me so mad.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of the plot as a whole, I love the world building. I think the world building is probably the strongest part of it. But again, the last war arc, I like the concept of the war arc. I don't like. I think Madara should have been it. Like we should have had the Obito Kakashi face off.
Mhm.
Obito revealing who he is, and then we should have had the showdown with Madara, and it should have ended.
Yeah.
They made Madara too powerful. He couldn't be defeated.
Right. Right. That's the
They
thing.
rolled
It's-
himself into a corner. He's just like gave him all the
Yeah.
powers.
But that's just and oh god, anime does it. Anime does it so much. Like going back to like Dragon Ball Z, every single Dragon Ball Z villain could just destroy the planet.
Yeah.
But it always ended with, yeah, but can you fight? And it's like, but you can destroy the planet. Like he doesn't need why are we fighting right now? Right? Like but that's what it is, like ninja, it's like a ninja battle, but by the end, it's not really a ninja battle. You're just throwing Hadokens at each other and destroying mountain ranges, right? Like that. What are we doing?
Yeah. They had to go with aliens. It's like jumping the shark.
That really got him. That's what I mean as far as plot, and it makes me want to change my grade to an F just because of that.
See,
Like-
there it is.
That irked me so bad at the end. It was like with the introduction of what are they called? The
Black Zetsu or the
Black Zetsu, yeah. And the person that came out of Black Zetsu was the lady's name?
Kaguya.
Oh,
Kaguya.
gosh.
Yeah.
I was
They
like,
jump-
where
they jumped the shark hard.
Yeah.
where did that come
They did it
from?
at the end. Yeah.
Where did it come from?
But that's shonen. Like
Yeah.
Right?
that's what they do.
The whole thing was my plan. The Black Zetsu guy. That was all me. I wrote the tablet that the Uchiha was reading. That was me. I planned all this.
Right. Reverse
Oh,
Flash.
And of course, Naruto being revealed to be, basically Jesus, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Christ figure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, his dad did die to save the village at the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's more. Yeah. Definitely Child of Prophecy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Right. Yeah, and that part, and that's why I say it should have ended with Madara, because at least Madara is this like overwhelming force of nature, like this unstoppable force of nature. But like at least they had like Madara was baked into the story like from the get-go. Like we'd already heard about Madara. We'd already talked about the Uchiha and like where they come from and
Right.
their eyes and stuff like that. And it's like, where did this alien come from?
Yeah.
And
What
Madara
is
represents
happening?
something, too.
Yeah.
Madara, and just we get to this with philosophical themes, but I subscribe to the idea that Madara represents old school Shintoism, whereas my
Oof.
boy, his rival, right, represents Buddhism. And
Okay. Yeah.
embracing modernity and embracing sort of a rejection of isolationism and all that sort of stuff. We'll get there with the philosophical themes.
Damn, getting deep
yeah.
already. Okay.
Yeah, Madara represented something, at least as a villain. You want your villain to represent something, I think, instead of just being out of nowhere.
Right. Okay, so let's get into some of the spicier questions.
Representation.
Yeah. So one of the questions I always ask my students when I teach the philosophy of anime class that I really love. One of the things that always generates discussion is this concept, this idea of representation in anime. So I want us to grade how Naruto did for representation, and I want to talk about it in two ways. The first is representation of women in Naruto, which anime has a horrendous track record of. And another, speaking of horrendous track records, representation of people of color in Naruto. So let's start with women. How would you grade Naruto on their female characters?
Do you want to go first, Darren, or me?
Oh, I gotta go. No, D-. And the only reason I'm not saying that is because Tsunade, they made Tsunade president or Hokage, and they also got the water woman Mizukage, the big blonde or the red haired. So that's kind of, but Kishimoto, he himself would say, I don't know how to write women. You know, uh, and Sakura, you know, who's essentially your third major character. I never liked her in the beginning because even when I was a kid, or when a kid, I was in college. I think it was coming out, but I didn't like. She was mean to Naruto. I guess it was kind of like a trope or whatever. But I always thought she was kind of unduly mean, and then her love of Sasuke, even though he was a traitor and was willing to kill her, really lowered her in my regard. There's the old lady that could control puppets. She was
Granny
cool.
Cho, yeah,
there, but she was only there for a little bit. There are a couple other standouts, but they're only there for a little bit, like the lady, the gym lady, and this filler. I can't even name names really at this point, and that's kind of the problem. That might be more my problem too. But the show doesn't really have a lot of major women players. Tsunade is I think there's, as far as her reign as Hokage, lackluster. I think she made some mistakes during the Pain arc. So anyway, yeah, he's bad at writing women, but it's D-. That's what I said.
So, I my grade, it swings because at the beginning I gave it a D because of Sakura. Then they introduced Tsunade, and I was like, oh, she's interesting, and she's got hands, and she's super strong, and I was like, okay, brought it up to a B, and then they were like, oh, Sakura's gonna train under her, and I'm like, oh man, Sakura's about to be relevant. She's about to be crazy relevant, and then she wasn't. So it brings it back down to an F. Like it was a D, went to a B, then down to an F, just because Sakura never redeemed. Like first episode, last episode, Sakura's the same. Like the same. Like still frustrated, still running after Sasuke, and like she's there to be sad about Sasuke while everybody else is moving on. Like that's it. It seems like that was her purpose, and I hate it that they never did anything with it. Like you got trained by one of the Sannin, and like you didn't. Like I thought we were going to see her do a little bit with it when she fought the what's his name, Sasori, the puppet guy from Aratsuki. I was like, okay, and then after that, nothing.
Nope.
After that, nothing. That was it, and I hated that they did that. Same thing, like a lot of the female characters in it, they made irrelevant. Hinata has the Byakugan, and half the time the only reason they show her is to show her blushing over Naruto. Like these are soldiers just like the guys are. Like, what does Tenten do? Does anybody still know? We're hundreds of episodes in. Tenten's just out there, and we don't know what she's doing, right? Like, and it's just it was always super frustrating what they did with the female characters, because I'm like, they're ninjas too. They're insanely strong, but 9 times out of 10, when there was a woman on the screen in Naruto, they were there to mourn a man.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with y'all. So, oh gosh, yeah, Keeden, I think you nailed it there. And Darren, I have to agree. Like the fact that they have female leaders, I think. I still got to give it an F, though.
Yeah.
The fact that they have female leaders is like fantastic, but even with Tsunade, like the sexualization of Tsunade, not as bad as the sexualization of the other female characters because they're all minors, but still bad. Still bad. Related, so build off. So Sakura is obviously the main female character. My question for y'all related to Sakura is, how could we, as if we have any control over it, how could, is it Kishimoto is the author, right? How could Kishimoto have fixed Sakura? Like what could have changed to make Sakura a better character? Because obviously, like drop the ball's a bit of an understatement there. He like ruined Sakura as a character.
It's a fighting anime. Have them fight. Like
Yeah.
do something with them, right? Like the same way, like Batman sees Catwoman as his equal because she can fight. She has her own power set. She's extremely interesting, right? Like, and it is. Honestly, I hate hearing someone like, I can't write female characters. You can, you just don't, right? Because honestly, you could take Naruto, do the exact same story, make him a woman, interesting character, right? Like every time someone's like, oh, they I don't know how to write female character. You just have a preconceived notion that you can't get past. That's
Mhm.
what that's what it is. Like, oh look, at this part she's gonna cry over this guy. I don't know how to write female characters. In other words, they exist to mourn over men. Like that's what you just did. I've always thought it was a cop out whenever someone's like, oh, I don't know, I don't write women well. Like, yeah, you don't, and you can do better. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I would give her better motivations as well as giving her more fights. You take away the Sasuke motivation. As soon as Sasuke, I mean, just from the very beginning, when she's a kid, all the way up to her adulthood, no change there, and he was like a murderer, and
He's
he
a
was
war
willing
criminal.
to murder. Yeah,
He was a war criminal.
he tried to kill her too.
Yes.
And at that point, it's like he can't think of anything to write except she's boy crazy, and that's as always, And so yeah, give her, and it's all about just give her a motivation, give her a goal, and then have her work towards that goal, and give her some success as well, in achieving it. They kind of, I think they do her a little bit better in Boruto, even though the rest of that show is really, I think, really bad. But they give her, they have her own little side story, and they try to make her like a preeminent medical ninja, but it's too little, too late. The show's
Right.
already over at that point. The damage is already done. So,
Yeah. You can't bring it back. Like it's like, I remember those first 374 episodes. You can't undo that. Like,
she cut her hair. Oh my god, woman cut her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm playing within the parameters of the Naruto story and the Naruto universe, like I think the easiest fix would have been to have Sakura not get with Sasuke. Like that would have like been a huge improvement because Darren, like you were saying, like her infatuation with Sasuke makes no
unhealthy.
sense.
Unhealthy.
Yeah. Talking
unhealthy.
about something to psychoanalyze. Yeah, like abusive relationship in the most toxic way possible. Like run. Yeah. Now, if I'm gonna tweak the show as a whole, like what I would love to see, and this is really far out there, but I'm just kind of talking on my butt at this point anyway. So, what I would love to see happen, I think this would fix Naruto's character as well. And this does not fit with the shonen genre at all. But so this is what I would love to have seen happen. This would make Naruto like the perfect show for me. I want to see, on the one hand, I want to see Naruto fail more. And on the other hand, I want to break the Sakura character mold. So one of the ways in my head, if I imagine myself rewriting the story, that I would do that is Naruto first and foremost wouldn't save Sasuke, and on top of that, Sakura would kill Sasuke. That's what I would love.
That'd be dope. Like finally use those heavy-handed punches that you don't use for something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see, again, we're talking about a kid's show, so I know like that's out of the picture. But like this whole idea of Naruto, the premise, the power of friendship or whatever, like I think it needs to not work sometimes because not everybody's redeemable, right? Not everybody's savable. and Sasuke would have been a perfect. And I just hate Sasuke as a character too. But anyway, that's my crazy idea.
He's so edgy.
Right?
He's the ultimate aim away message. Like, yeah, and then the other, oh my god, the other thing you said with how was representation like race.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I stopped watching Shippuden for a while when Killer Bee showed up rapping. I actually cut it off, and I was just like, "This did
So
they
bad.
really? Did they really just do this? Like, is he wearing Masterpiece sunglasses right now? Are we really doing this? Like, are we really like I stopped watching for like a solid month. Like, am I done with this show? Because that felt disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I eventually went back just because I was like, the fight scenes do look cool, but that really ticked me off. I did not like that at all.
Yeah. Was the hidden cloud black? I mean, how does the they all were dark skinned. They had big features, big nose, and stuff like that. I was thinking, what is going on? I'm not even sure how the show really handles race though, but yeah, that does seem like Japan being Japan, and their representation of African culture, African American culture has always been lacking. But at the same time, I'm like, what even is, because everybody in the show is Japanese, right? I mean, ostensibly, right? And like, where are we drawing the lines as far as like racial portrayals? Because are the Uchiha, they're considered a race? Are these different clans? Or is that where we're drawing the line for race, and that's how we analyze the show's commentary?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or are we looking at like, well, everybody's Japanese except the Cloud Village, who has black people? Or the Anu, the indigenous people of Japan. Before, because Japanese people, they're not the first people on that land, right? And the Anu up in the northern part of that place, they were darker, right? Like the indigenous people. So are they meant to represent that? But in either way, the rapping was silly. Killer Bee is a silly, borderline disrespectful character. But yeah, I gotta laugh out of him. And he does have a cool power set. He has the octopus, so he won me over. I like A because it represents wrestling. He does the clothesline, lightning. Yeah. Ultimately, all that stuff was too cool for me to. He has the Black Panther lightning. I was like, okay, Black Panther lightning. I didn't think we were somewhere. I like this. So I actually end up kind of coming around to the Cloud Village, and even Choji ended up having a baby with a woman, I guess, of color. Let's just say that a black woman from the Cloud Village, and now he has a mixed race child. I don't know how much y'all know about Boruto, but there is a character. I'm talking about.
I never watched Boruto, but I'm listening though.
He had a mixed race child, and that's sort of going back to those philosophical themes, integration, and all that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff will never happen in Madara's world. The isolationist policy and that sort of stuff. So anyway, but yeah, they don't do ethnicities very well. I would say either way. Yeah, there's a lot of biological essentialism. I think in the show, either way you look at it, especially when as far as like the Ginku guy or whatever, I don't know. I think I said enough. So I give it the ethnicities. I give it a C-. They don't represent that very well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would. Again, I would have to agree. Like, and granted, like representation as far as representation of women and representation of people of color, like. Again, anime is probably one of the worst offenders out there as a genre.
Yes.
Some do it better than others. And for what it's worth, Naruto isn't the worst one I've seen. Again, that doesn't justify in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, there's a
Mr. Popo.
Oh God. Yeah.
That's the one.
That's like the epitome of
my God.
Really bad.
Like they just drew from minstrel tropes or something. But then, that's what an isolated country will get you, though. As far as
Right. And I have this conversation with students because on the one hand, like Japan as a nation is not ethically diverse.
No.
It's like not what was it's like upper 90% like all Japanese. But and I say that not to say that there's an excuse there, because in a global society, I don't know if there is. But I will say in terms of Naruto, I guess I would have to say a D. And the only reason I would have to say a D is Killer Bee's the worst one, I think, because he's supposed to embody like the Black American rapper, and that part is unwatchable. I couldn't sit through it. But the other characters, the other like Bee's brother, for example, the other people from the cloud, aren't bad. I guess is how I would phrase that. They're not like, for sure they're not Mr. Popo, and they're also another god awful example is the lady from Promised Neverland, like characteristic mammy figure. Like it was so bad. So, and I don't mind. And again, the Raikages, from the cloud, they have portrayals of people of color in leadership positions, and so yeah, I'm still, I'd have to give it a D though. I don't know. Yeah. As far as other comments on representation, y'all want to add anything there?
I think I kind of want to go. I do agree with Darren, where they really didn't really didn't touch on like what makes them different, right? Like they really did. Like we knew with the Hidden Cloud, like we knew like the darker skin, like right then, like, okay, something's up. But I mean, with like the Uchihas and the Hinata and Neji, I can't remember, the Hyugas, right? Like with them, are they just like interbreeding with each other and that's how they keep it in the family, right? Like I don't know how it all worked, and so I was always kind of confused with that as far as how it worked, because even what's his name, the girl that was married to, that was with Asuma with the red eyes,
I
always wondered if there was something. I always wondered if there was something with her. Like, is she like a separate race? Is she different? But they never really go into explaining it.
Yeah, if you ask the show, the show's like, what are you talking about? The Cloud Village is just some fun camp, no big deal. What they really think, where the show thinks is evaluating race, really is the storyline with the Uchiha versus the rest of the village. We have this genetic minority that rebelled in the past, and then you got the Donzos and the Tobiramas who say these people can't really be integrated into the overarching Konoha village. And like, I don't know if they keep it all in the family. I guess how far as how they that's the show really like commenting on race, and there I still think it gets it wrong. Even there, I think it gets it wrong where Itachi's like, I think I'll just kill all my. That's the way.
Just gonna wipe them out. It is what it is.
Still trips over his shoelaces. So I guess when you're bad on the one way, you're bad on the other too. But ultimately, it wants to say integration is good. I think really that's where the show really wants to say is like Naruto represents the future, where even he himself is inexplicably blind or whatever. It's like. He just looks like blue-eyed. He looks like a white guy.
Yes. Okay. I always thought about it. And I didn't want to assume, but like, first off, everybody was like, "Oh, who's Naruto's parents?" It's like it's very obvious who his parents are. He has blue eyes and bright yellow Super Saiyan hair. Like, I always wonder if, like, are they pulling like a white savior thing here? Because what is happening? Because he is the only, like, are there any other characters in that show with like bright blonde
The
hair?
Uzumaki clan are redheads and blondes.
Right.
So, yeah.
And this one, I'm like that is a, like, but
Yeah,
at the same,
that's bad writing. We don't know
right.
Naruto's dad looks just like him too.
But at the same time, I think it speaks for the writer. Like, oh, this is the one that's the strongest. This is the one that's superior. And it's like, really? You don't see that? Because I see that.
Super Saiyans, I was like that
right.
too. When Goku gets stronger, he gets blonde hair and
right.
blue eyes. What happens to eyes?
Right. Right.
I always hated that. I was like, oh, okay.
It was right. It was always kind of strange. I always thought it was weird.
Yeah, me too. All right,
it's like, look, now he's powerful. He's gonna colonize everybody now.
Yeah.
That's always really bothered me. And it's like, I would be curious. I'm sure there's an answer out there. And if somebody knows the answer, please, for the love of God, tell me. That's always bothered me about anime. It's like, where are these Aryans coming from all of a sudden? Like, why? So yeah, you're getting into some dicey territory there. And I'm sure there's got to be some sort of like history behind that concept in Japan. I mean, I know there's a history behind it elsewhere, right? So what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah. And Shonen does it a bunch too, because like Ichigo, like okay, right? Like it's one of those things. It's interesting because I know these are all supposed to be Japanese characters, but I'm just saying I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Like a lot of times in anime, there's so many animes I don't really see it, and a lot of times they end up looking like white characters.
Sailor Moon and all that.
Yeah, right. Like like blonde hair, blue eyes. Like right, like it's not.
Well, the history in Japan. They at one point they had a port open, but it was only open to the Dutch. Remember that in Japanese history, like they were isolated, but they did get some influence, and they was like, okay, we'll let only the Dutch, those are the only ones we like, and no one else. Eventually, America came and opened them up voluntarily, but yeah, and so I think if you examine, because a lot of anime is always exploring these same Japanese themes, Japanese mythology. Ultimately they always end up referencing a lot of the same stuff, but. It could be connected to history.
All right. Chat comment of the night: Itachi is the Takashi 6ix9ine of Naruto.
Wow.
That's gold.
That's a rapper, right?
Yeah,
Takashi 6ix9ine. Yeah,
you don't need to know who it is.
He's the one who went to
awful
jail
rapper
or something. Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah,
ratted everybody out. All right, so. Final grade. What about the philosophical themes of Naruto? What grade would you give for the philosophical themes of the show?
I'd give it a B, because honestly, it's one of those animes where, like I said, the big motifs are hope, sacrifice, brotherhood, right? Like friendship, and all three of those things, it does do well. Like it does do that well, and so I definitely give it a B. It has, I really do like that you're separating all of the different categories because it's like so far I feel I haven't given a really good grade to anything so far, but for that, like for the motifs that it does have, it does well.
Okay. Darren?
Me, I give it an A-. Like I say, it's feel good, and those things that Keeden touched on right there, brotherhood and family and love and hope and that sort of thing. But it also tries to tackle geopolitical themes of nations and nukes, of how to establish peace. But really, it was this analysis, and I left it in the private chat here on StreamYard. That's that first link, that GameFAQs link. It was that analysis that really blew me over. The Shinto Buddhism sort of, and I guess I don't know if you could really attribute this to the show. Is this essay? I'm giving an A, I guess. Maybe not the show itself. Assuming that what this essay says was intended, then it gets an A. But leaving this essay out of it, then I would lower it to like maybe a B or B plus. Like I say, it does leave you with the feel good, and they ultimately want to achieve peace, and a lot of different philosophies are interrogated. And so as deep as a shonen probably could be, while still being for kids and being a feel good. I give it a high score, like a A- or so, or something like that, or a B plus if not taking this essay into account.
Oh man, I think that's our first A of the night. I don't know. Yeah, I would agree with that. Keeden, what did you give it, a B?
Yeah, I gave it a B.
B?
I gave it a B.
I'll go with the middle route again. There are some themes that I thought that it did very well and that I really liked, although I would tweak a little bit. So I would say solid B, maybe 85. I gotta say 85. I like the the power of friendship bit as a theme. What I like about it is that you have a sense of to get fancy here. I mean, I think that Naruto does a good job of exhibiting like what restorative justice looks like. Like people like Gaara are a good example of that. So Gaara starts off as a villain, yes. They fight Gaara, yes. There's all this, big dramatic battles and backs and forths. But what I like about it is that Gaara changes. And not only does Gaara change, but Gaara's reintegrated back into the community as a whole. He's redeemed, like he's actually redeemed. Which I think it's not just like, oh, we encounter the big baddie, we fight, we kill the big baddie, and that's that. Like, no, Gaara actually like comes back to play a part in the story or in the world. So I like that aspect of it. What would make it an A for me, going back to what I said earlier, I think there needs to be an example of it not working. There needs to be, and I think Sasuke would be a good primary culprit for that. But I think it would push up to the A range for me if there was an instance of it not going through, or Naruto not being able to be friends with somebody, an irredeemable person. But other themes, Darren, I'm gonna have to go read that essay because I really like that idea of the comparison between Shintoism and Buddhism.
I need the link again because I think since I came in a little late, I didn't get.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, here. Yeah, throw it in there.
Sweet.
Let me post that in the chat too.
Yeah, there you go.
Dope.
I like some of the broader like political themes. I didn't really think about the connection between Jinchuriki and atomic weapons before. I think that would be a good video essay to make.
Yeah, that is solid. I never picked up on that either. That's good though. I like that.
I got a little deep. I also wish, going back to the conversation about child soldiers we had earlier, the only real critique of these system that we get is, I guess, kind of from Madara, but we don't really see any like actual challenges to this kind of concept. Like Naruto ultimately wins, but Naruto maintains the status quo in that regard.
Yeah, but like their whole thing is the village makes money off of doing missions, like the whole
military dictatorship or something.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a military complex. Like that's what it is. Like it's just a bunch of villages that are basically Blackwater that are just out here doing like private military and protection missions and all
Yeah,
this. And yeah,
they actually live in a dystopia, really, when you think about it.
yeah,
It's
it's
they live
not
in
good.
a nightmare world. And and it's just a smaller part because they're like politicians that use these ninjas. We never get to see outside the ninja village. There's like a whole samurai thing going on, with the one samurai guy we get to see, right? There's a whole other world outside of the
Yeah.
ninja world that we never even get to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, they use child soldiers. I think part of the, justification, the reason or whatever they say is because it was like a big war and all people were killed. And then part of the downside of Boruto, the ironic thing is, and you can see that in the second the image link thing that I sent. I'll put it this again.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Boruto's boring because it's a time of peace. Naruto ushered in a time of peace. And now the kids are not soldiers anymore, so now they do fun things. You can see the comparison between Boruto episode 49 and Naruto episode 49. But yeah, it is a nightmare world, as most of these places would be if you were to live in them. It'd be fun if you were the main character, but people are dying left and right suddenly out of nowhere. It's not a fun place to be.
Yeah. So, yeah, to that point, I would just like to see more internal critique of its own ideas, and a challenging of that status quo. Like, again, what would it have improved it philosophically? What would give me an A is if Naruto like ups and says, you know what, I've seen what it means to be a Hokage. I've seen the system. I don't want a part of it. Like that would have been like, oh gosh.
Oh, that would have been crazy. Yeah. Yeah,
that would have been the ultimate lesson. Like, I don't want to be Hokage because this is a mess. Right?
he disbands the ninja system somehow, but now it really just says, well, if you get a nice guy in charge, everything will be keep the same system, but just put a nice guy in charge.
Right.
The problem's not with dictators. You just need a good dictator, right?
Yeah. How about a Senate? Senate anyone?
Democracy?
What do the people want? Does everyone just want to run off the war and have kids just so the kids can become soldiers? Like, is that what we're doing? Because so many. Oh man, and that's another thing with Naruto. Like, they really had this. They really have this system of, look, here is this group of really cool characters. They're all gonna die, and then the 3 people they trained are gonna be exactly like them, and then the 3 people they trained are gonna and they do it like over and over again, because you have like the Hokage, and he trained the 4th, and then the 4th trained Kakashi, and then Kakashi trained Naruto, and it just goes down the line, and it just kind of shows like, oh, look, we're in a loop. We're in a loop where nothing changes, and it's sad, and it's also cool because look, he can do the same fighting move that this guy taught his granddad, and it's like, that's great, but why are we still fighting? Like, why don't can we just be Gohan and go to school? Like, can we just let's go to college? How about that? Like, let's stop fighting for a little while.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it once again. I'll check back in with y'all. I would love to do this again, maybe with a different series next time. If you have any suggestions, feel free to throw that in the comments of the video. Maybe Demon Slayer, or I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie to you. The Demon Slayer story isn't anything mind blowing, but it is the most crisp, gorgeous animation I have ever seen.
Oh my gosh,
it is insane.
Yeah, good music. Y'all seen the Train movie?
Movie Train. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
The second movie's getting ready to drop in Japan later on this month.
Oh wow. Well, this will not be the last time that you see Keeden and Darren. I'm definitely going to have them back, and we'll do a part 2. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by, for listening. Thank you, Darren, Keeden.
Absolutely happy to be here.
One last plug. Where can people find you if they're interested?
Well, me and my friend Dr. Amelia Brown actually run a podcast called Bat Therapy. You can find us on Pandora, Google, Apple, Spotify. We're everywhere. And then we also have a website, bat-therapy.com. She is a clinical psychologist, and every week we break down the psychology of different comic books and movies and TV shows. And it's we put a really big focus on mental health awareness. And so, yeah, definitely check us out. We have a lot of fun with it.
Very cool. Darren?
Yeah, Doctor I Dare You. Dr space IDAREU. I have a YouTube channel where I might post a game review every now and then, and you might find me here. I love hanging out with Mike and Keeden. Other than that, you won't find me.
You should cut the video right then. That was a good moment. That was a good moment.
That was. I've put both of the.
I'm wearing a hoodie next time we do this.
Right?
I'm not.
I've put links to both Bat Therapy and Darren's channel. Thank y'all again, and until next time, see y'all.